ever been wondering why change feels harder now than it did in your 30s? You're not imagining it, and you're not failing.
In fact, there's a very real reason this happens, especially for women in our midlives and beyond. Earlier in life, change was driven by momentum, challenges, goals. You had fewer responsibilities, more recovery capacity, and less accumulated stress. But now, our body and mind are constantly assessing, is this safe? Do I have the energy? What's the cost if this doesn't work? To give you an example of my resilience, when I was younger, at 29, 30, I went through a whole lot of ups and downs in a short period of time.
I'd recently had my daughter diagnosed with a lifelong intellectual disability. She ended up in hospital with the side effects of the incorrect dose of a medication. At the same time, I discovered I was pregnant and then had a miscarriage, and I ended up in hospital with a D&C. We'd later sold our house, went on an extended holiday, came back and lived with the parents for 3 months, found a new home and bought it, and moved in on December the 31st after Christmas. So as you can see, there was a combination of up and down, stresses happening, and I was more able to adapt to what life's curveballs threw at us at the time. My resilience was much higher back then, and I know that now in my 60s, those earlier stresses have really taken their toll on me as my resilience level has depleted a lot. So over time, your nervous system learns from these types of experiences, and it builds protective patterns, not to sabotage you, but to keep you functioning. This is why pushing harder often backfires. The system interprets pressure as a threat, not motivation.
I just want to clarify something that I said, and that was about pushing harder often backfires. And what do I actually mean by that? So as we get older, I've discovered that we force ourselves more to stick to habits when we're maybe already tired. We add more rules and structure and negative self-talk around us when things get really heavy, and we ignore, sometimes we do, we ignore the stress factors, the poor sleep, the emotional load, hormones that prevent us. So sometimes we react, and our patience is less. So we are more likely to explode. So when your nervous system is under stress or under strain, that pressure cooker starts to really be noticeable, because our stress hormones rise, our motivation drops, our recovery period, or the period to recover, takes longer. And our brain kind of interprets things as a threat. Not a danger, but sort of demanding things on us. And our body responds by conserving energy. The result often looks like procrastination. Maybe we're inconsistent. Maybe we're losing momentum, feeling worse about ourselves, not better. So that backfire isn't failure as such. It's just your nervous system saying, hey, this approach isn't quite working, and I'm going to have to do something a little bit different. So yeah, that's sort of where I was.
Not motivation. Sustainable change in midlife comes from awareness, not force. So when you understand the patterns that influence your reactions and your habits and your beliefs, you can work with your system instead of fighting it. And that's when change becomes calmer, steadier, and more likely to last. There's nothing wrong with you, not at all. Your system has been doing its job. So the next chapter, let's say, of your well-being is about understanding, not fixing. sharing more on that in the weeks ahead. Right now I am getting wet as I walk along the water.